The Prime Minister made a whistle-stop tour of our region today. His first visit was to an estate in Stevenage to see how antisocial behaviour is tackled.
Then came a trip to a hospital in Harlow, in yet another marginal seat for Labour. But how did his visits go down? Well, Matthew Hudson has been finding out.
A man on a mission. Gordon Brown swept through the corridors of the Princess Alexandra Hospital, apparently bent on meeting as many staff and patients as possible. With a majority of just 76, the Prime Minister knows Labour needs to win hearts and minds if Harlow is to stay red for the next 5 years. You practically need running spikes to keep up with a politician on a whistle-stop tour, and Mr Brown was running an hour late. So it was a smile, a handshake, a word of encouragement, then on to the next person. Special praise for staff who've helped raise standards here. Labour will be hoping the billions poured into the NHS will help its cause come polling day.
These improvements in the health service have got to be reflected in personal guarantees to every single patient that they'll get the best treatment possible and as quickly as possible, and that's what we're trying to do.
Do you personally find it frustrating when you hear that hospitals have problems with cleanliness, with their finances, when so much money has been pumped in?
Well, I've just come to this hospital to thank them for what they've done, and one of the things they've achieved is an improvement in cleanliness by cutting the rate of hospital infection.
But away from the chutzpah of a prime ministerial visit, would the people of this ultra-marginal seat vote for Mr Brown?
Yes, I would, actually, just because I believe in his policies.
I have my doubts about Gordon Brown. I never vote. To me, they all lie, so no, I don't vote.
Yes, I will. I'm a strong party member.
I don't even know who he is.
Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister visited Stevenage with local MP Barbara Follett and Families Minister Dawn Primarolo. They were there to hear about initiatives to tackle antisocial behaviour on the town's Bedwell estate. But with Mrs Follett stepping down at the election, Stevenage is far from secure for Labour. A majority of just over 3,000 makes it a target for the Conservatives. So 2 marginals targeted and plenty more to follow. Neither Mr Brown nor his rivals will be slowing up for some months yet. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News, Harlow.
Now, in other news, it's emerged that a newlywed teacher from Norwich who drowned in Egypt on Monday died while trying to save his wife. Luke Day was killed when the sailing boat he was in capsized on the Nile during a violent storm. His wife, Sophie, who was also on the boat, survived. The 31-year-old teacher had taken 6 months off from Cossey High School after getting married last summer. He was due to return next month. A book of condolence has been opened there.
An inquest has begun into the death of a 15-year-old boy who drowned in a lake on the outskirts of Norwich. Abiyala Asadi from Burton-on-Trent in the Midlands was swimming with his cousin in Whitlingham Little Broad when the teenagers got into difficulty. Relatives managed to pull one of the lads to safety but couldn't find Zabuala. A full-scale search was launched and eventually his body was recovered from the water. The hearing in Norwich is expected to continue tomorrow.
An 11-year-old boy from Colchester is being kept off school by his parents after teachers told him his hair was too short. Brandon Achiti was made to study in an isolation room at the Gilbert School, which argues extremes of hairstyles, including shaved heads, are not acceptable. Well, Brandon's father, however, feels his son has been victimised because of the way he looks.
When he came back home, I wasn't happy with his attitude. He wasn't very happy. He was very upset, and I had to do something about it.
I still like the school, but I don't think it's very fair that they put me in there for my hair.
Just a quick word now about a programme coming up later on ITV1 this evening. As relief workers struggle to help the thousands suffering in Haiti, a special Tonight programme called Children of the Quake will be shown on ITV1.
I'm in Haiti covering the worst earthquake here for 200 years. I've been looking at the fate of the country's children, their suffering and their future.
They are screaming. They're still alive. They need help.
That's a Tonight special here on ITV1 at 7:30.
Well, stay with us here on Anglia Tonight. All the news from your part of the region is coming up.
Yep, Rachel's here with the weather, and we're going to be meeting a record. More news now, and it's been revealed that the killer of a man in Lowestoft should have been wearing an electronic tag. Aaron Breffett was on a 3-month nighttime curfew when he and James Killingback murdered terminally ill father of 3, John Vry, in December of 2008. The court service has now admitted that staff failed to inform a tag monitoring company.
Rush hour traffic in Norwich was disrupted this morning after a water main burst. It closed the city's outer ring road in both directions between the Hall Road roundabout and the Ipswich Road. Police closed it after a large amount of sand and mud was left on the carriageway. Improved routes, more trains and better stations. A vision of a bold new future for rail passengers in our region.
It's all part of the government's plan to make things better on our railways when new companies take over running some of the services. Tom Barton has the report.
Travelling the same way as thousands of commuters in our region, Transport Minister and Ipswich MP Chris Moll was on the train today as the government began the process to find a new and hopefully first-class operator for our railways.
What differences would passengers expect to see between the current operator and whoever takes over in 2011?
Well, I think they'll be looking to see a little more space on trains, better information for customers, better punctuality, some improvement at stations, the way the tickets are sold, car parking. All those things are things that the franchisees can offer us, and we'll look at very closely.
National Express currently holds the franchise on 4 lines in our region. The Great Eastern Main Line runs between London and Norwich, while the West Anglia Main Line runs between London Liverpool Street and Cambridge. The company also operates C2C on the Essex Thameside route and runs the Stansted Express, a regular service between the airport and London. But it will lose all these services in 2011. So the National Express name and the National Express logo will be disappearing from our trains. But this process isn't just about finding a new brand and a new company to run the train services. The government says it's also about fundamentally improving it, and they want to know what real people who use these trains would like to see. So we decided to find out what some of those passengers want.
More regular trains, most definitely. Cheaper tickets.
Probably just the trains a bit more upgraded inside and try to get more on time and so on.
More toilets on the trains? That would be great.
Neil Skinner represents rail users in Essex.
There isn't any detail in how they intend to implement the fast services between Norwich and London. The obvious solution is to cut out the number of stops, which is obviously to the detriment of an awful lot of people, so we will be keeping an eye on that.
And particularly that could include places like where we are here in Manningtree.
Absolutely, Manningtree, Colchester, Chelmsford, even Diston Stowmarket.
Whoever wins this contract will run the railways for up to 10 years, an opportunity to make the improvements passengers are demanding. Tom Barton, Anglia News, Ipswich.